What's up guys, Jkise here, and World Arena Ambition season just ended like a month ago, and I ended Emperor, which means I am officially a top 1000 player in... Anyways, I am a free-to-play player because I'm not spending $30 to buy a skin. Once Epic 7 skins start becoming Azure lane level, then I'll consider becoming a whale. Now, I am making this video for a variety of reasons. First, I wanted to mark my progress. Second, I wanted to inspire other free-to-play players and show them the methods I use to reach the upper levels of PvP, and most importantly, to flex. Anyways, before we get into this account review, make sure to subscribe. I make all kinds of Epic 7 content such as unit showcases, lore videos, hunt one-shots, and dagger Sakaar guides. If you like Epic 7, there's definitely something for you on my channel, unless you just can't stand me, in which case fine. Kneel. Alright, so the first thing I want to go over is my win rate. Not gonna lie, I don't think I saw a single Emperor or Legend player with a lower win rate than me. However, this is fine. You want to know why? Look at my last match played. I haven't played any since the season ended, so this right here was the last team I used, and it was a cleave team. Because this entire season, I basically only cleaved. This is what allowed me to lose so many matches, because since I was cleaving, I was able to play a lot of matches in a short amount of time, and since Epic 7 PvP heavily favors winning, it was pretty easy to climb. Plus, I just wasn't playing seriously during the initial month or so of the season, hence the low win rate, because it didn't really matter. It's not like I wanted to win those matches or anything. All that really mattered was grinding hard during the last couple of weeks, and during the last couple of days my win rate was going up, because I was doing the exact same thing I was doing at the start of the season, but better. So, despite being a free-to-play player, I have a 95% hero journal. However, this does not mean much because I have like none of these heroes built. I summon on every banner because every time I see a character I want it. Now you may be wondering, if I don't have a lot of heroes built, how do I even play RTA? And the answer is, first, pre-ban Bellona. Almost every problem in this game can be dealt with if you have souls. And second, I relied on a core of units that I picked basically every match, exploiting the fact that people weren't cleaving this season. So let's finally get into this showcase and show off my core units. So Poltis is literally such a good unit, so good in fact that I picked her every match. Now you may be wondering, why? And what I want you to do is imagine every meta unit, besides Rem. And guess what? Poltis counters all of them. Her passive reduces CR gain by 50%, so Rimuru, Arby, and Elena CR increases are non-issues. Whenever the enemy uses a non-attack skill, she launches an AoE attack, so Maid revives her whole team, not a problem, because they just came back to die. The reduction in CR gain coupled with the AoE attack also makes her really good into AoL, and furthermore, her S3 has an unbuffable on it, so any heroes who want to set up buffs like Carmen or FCC aren't going to have a good time. If that wasn't enough, her S1 also has a soul burn extra turn, so she can spam Stoles Stene style to kill Arby. Poltis also has a favorable matchup into cleave, or at least the cleave I use, so gotta pick her to make sure my enemies don't. So my Poltis specifically is on a speed DPS build with Heals because everything I use, besides my openers, has to do damage. And I have her on Heals so she can either help out her soul needy teammates or so I can spam her S1 to kill off Arby's or T-Servants. Poltis' first pick worked out really well for me this season to the point that if people remembered me, they'd deny me the Poltis' first pick. For example, I was fighting Fart Pancakes, who's a streamer and is part of my idol YDCB's guild, and I literally beat her with my standard Poltis' first pick comp, then I got matched up against her like 25 minutes later and she sniped the Poltis pick and then I lost. Not sure if I should be annoyed or flattered, but anyways, Poltis good. So I'm not gonna lie, when Bombseria first got revealed, I was in the same boat as everyone else, thinking she was kind of underwhelming, but right after my first playtesting of her, I realized how strong she was. However, Bombseria kind of freaking sucks if you don't have a plus 30 artifact, but just like summon 6 of them. Duh. Her base stats are really optimized to be able to get high attack speed and effectiveness, so in my opinion it's not too crazy to build a decent Bombseria. During this season, mine had enough effectiveness for me to be willing to try to bomb any unit, and most of the time she was able to land them. However, lately there's been a lot of ER inflation, so I'd really like to drop her crit rate and increase her effectiveness and speed. Her main value to me is that she was able to lock down really tanky units before they could get a turn and set up some annoying stuff, but also because she was basically my only solution to Violet. And if that Violet didn't have immunity, he was basically a free win, unless I got 15%ed. Just because of her ability to lock down units and the team CR push, I picked her almost every match, usually as my second or third pick. Ran. He's built to zoom. I don't know what else to say. He goes first, S2s if I won't be punished for it, i.e. the enemy didn't pick Celine or Ball. He has Silver Rain, so it'll boost the attack of someone on the team if I do use the S2, Pavel style. Then he uses the S3, which I will sometimes soul burn if I really want defense break to land. And this will push up my Bombseria and by extension the rest of my team. He also has a 100% crit rate to push up the next member of my core, Challenger Dominial. So my Cdom is on a speed pentet, however, even with these stats, she hits like a wet noodle, unless she has both attack buff and I soul burn the S1. This can be seen in this fight I used her in against Light, who's apparently a legend ranked player, and this is due to the sheer amount of mitigation and how tanky the meta has become. However, for me, Cdom's main purpose doesn't come exclusively from damage. None of my openers actually push my team forward or the enemy back, so I build them with a 100% crit rate, so that way my Cdom can get pushed up and then push the rest of my team forward. I have her on Tomoca Hazel, so if I really need to, I can soul burn to snipe a target such as Rems and maybe a Ravi's depending on mitigation. However, a lot of the time I use these souls on the rest of the team. Alright, so as you all know, in RTA you can pick 5 units per match. I've listed 4 so far, and I usually pick these 4 units first. My last pick depends on what the enemy picks, so it's a flex pick. If the enemy at this point has picked a unit that could contest my Ran, or 2 units that could contest, I have to assume they're going to ban the Ran, and I go with Cerise. So Cerise is basically as fast as my Ran. In previous Ranless seasons I used her a lot more, but in my opinion Ran is just better Cerise. So if the opponent has given up on contesting me, then I don't see the point in picking Cerise, but for the situations where they do, it's nice to basically have 2 units that function the same and are equally difficult to contest. However, if they have given up on speed contesting, then I go with Pavel. So my Pavel isn't that fast, which is why I only pick him if I'm guaranteed to go first. I have him on the exclusive equipment that boosts the attack of an ally, so that way I have more offensive potential, especially when he's paired with Cdom. I think he's really good in this meta, partially because I pre-ban his biggest counter Bellona, and have ways of dealing with the second biggest counter AOL. The fact that this S2 can't be countered is just so nice because it denies Rems, Violets, and whatever else people are running on counter nowadays. I usually soul burn his S2 into S3 to kill Rems, and I have him on Misha. Well, during the season I had him on Symbol of Unity, but I recently just gave that to Zahhak. So right now I have him on Misha's, and he can just randomly kill off, well, almost kill off Violets. I'm waiting to max limit break that when it comes to the shop. And then my goal is to raise his DPS stats and his speed, however that's a difficult task to do. And yeah, that's it for this account review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and wait, what? You want me to show my other units? Y'all do realize I basically never picked them, right? It was just a combination of these 6 every match, for like 1,300 matches. But fine, if you insist, we're just going to go through the rest of the units down the list, but we're going to be brief about them because I didn't pick them that often. Alright, every time I see Kise, I'm so sad because pre-CP change, she was my first 200k CP unit. But then the changes occurred and I gave her gear to other people, so her CP dropped a lot. I used her a lot in the previous season because she hard counters Carrot, but with the decline of Carrot and the rise of Violet, it's just not safe to pick Kise, but Kise will always have a place as my rep hero. I don't really use Tomoca for RTA because, although revivers like Maiden A Ravi are running rampant, the meta is too tanky for Emaluluka to kill things. Additionally, if I draft her as a sole Arby counter and she gets banned, then I just die, so I either have to draft 2 Arby counters, which is a hard thing to do, since we only get 5 slots, or I just need to not draft her and ban the Arby, or use my normal Arby counters, Poltis and Pavel. Although I don't use her a lot in RTA, she's really good for Guild War, my go-to when there's an Arby, and I also use her in Light Expedition right now. Arby kinda sucks right now. He has way too many bad matchups, ML haste in any unit that counters is a death sentence for him. Additionally, unless he gabs, his damage is too low, and even with gab it might not be enough sometimes. He works best on a degen build as an anti-cleaver, but at that point why Arby? So yeah, please buff Arby, Smilecate. Oh, he's a good farmer though. Only for side stories though, because adventure has become too difficult for him. Wyvern duty. Green Arby, I have him built for the rare situations where I need to speed imprint to contest someone, but situations like that are very rare, and it's kind of hard to draft those situations because if they suddenly shift to Bruiser, then you're screwed, so I don't use them that often. I cannot remember the last time I used Landy for RTA or Guild War. I mainly use her in PvE, she's on my Hellraid team to fight the fly thingy, and she's also on my Dark Expedition team. Free Spirit Tieria I use for Banshee 13 and Golem 13 one-shots, but I don't really farm those, so her biggest use comes out of World Boss. Now here's something I actually use. Her buff came pretty late into the RTA season, so I didn't use her a whole lot, but the matches I did use her in, she was really good. This is because she fits really well into the current casino meta, like Bellona or Rem counters and you, my friend, are dead-deado. I do wish her immortality was more like Kayron's though, because since she starts the battle with immortality, it can just get stripped, and that's why I feel it's important to build immunity on her, so that way it becomes a 50-50 which buff she's going to lose. I really wish Smilegate let us buy more than 1 copy of Symbol though, because I really want to give BBK a copy of Symbol, so that way she can deal with Violets. Some of the times. My Vivian's on PvE duty, she's the queen of one-shots on my Banshee, Asmanic, and Golem one-shot. Gear Holder. I haven't used him in seasons, but gotta keep him geared for World Boss. Okay, so after her buff, I tried to use Luna on a PvP build, but I didn't really have the gear for it, so I did the next best thing and built her for Fire Expedition. Oh, another unit I used for RTA. So before Rand came out, Operator Sigret was my second fastest unit. I was running her at like 284 speed, but then I realized that wasn't fast enough to contest, so I kind of turned her into a hybrid build. She fulfills a Pavel-like build. I basically pick her when I don't have to worry about being speed contested, especially if the enemy has picked Fallen Cecilia. However, it's really hard to get all the stats you want on her, so I have mine on Wall of Order, and if this thing doesn't proc, she won't do anything, but if it does, very cash money. Wyvern unit. Oh, this is a unit I used to use a lot for PvP, especially back when Riolet was popular. Like my Op Sig, she's just not fast enough, so mine's on PvE duty. I use her in both my Dark and Fire Expedition, and still occasionally use her in Guild War. Okay, I hate this build on Stene. Probably because the teams I use can't take advantage of the lifesteal set, so I intend on eventually rebuilding my Stene on a speed DPS build. Because right now mine never gets any use, which is a shame because this skin is so good. Okay, so I promised I would use Celine once I plus 30'd her artifact because I swear it never procced. So when it came to the shop, I maxed it, and I don't use her. I've used her a couple times where she was pretty good, but I feel the situations where I can use her are pretty niche. No one else can really use this gear though, so she gets to keep it. This unit actually hadn't come out by the time the season ended, but y'all know I'm recording this account review like a month after the season ended, so my account is bound to have changed a bit. I really like this unit so far. He's a consistent Violet counter, and I actually just made a showcase of him recently, which you should totally check out. This unit annoyed me so much because he came out 2 weeks before the season ended, and he really shifted the meta. I personally didn't pick him a lot because I didn't want to experiment with my draft when the season was so close to being over, but this unit is pretty nuts. Good shift to the meta for sure, and I'm going to try him out maybe, but I don't know. I don't really... I feel like I don't really need his skill set in my team. Alright, as you can see by the lack of Reforged Gear and her +6 artifact, this is a PvE Yufine. I use her for Light Expedition. Also a PvE unit, I need to finish Mola-ing and enhancing her artifact, and I use her for Water Expedition, which is why I have no motivation to finish my Ram, since that's not in the current rotation. So this is my PvP WSchuri for speed contesting. I don't think I actually ended up ever using him this season, but it's a good unit to have for the situations where you need a speed imprint. Guild War unit, I use him when I'm too scared to cleave, or when all my cleavers are dead. Another PvE unit, she's on my Cade's one-shot team. I have her on I think my 3rd or 4th fastest speed set, so I would really like to give that to another PvP unit. I recently just ungeared my Strays, so I could probably build a Strays C13 one-shot, which means I don't need a 274 speed Elphelt anymore. I also need to plus 30 her Song of Stars at some point, but that's kind of a low priority because she has so many opportunities to land target that it doesn't really matter. Also a Cade's unit, she might be sacrificed to gear Hunt Strays, which is unfortunate because Cermia is one of my favorite units. PvE unit, she gets used in normal raid. This is my shit, I'm about to get cleaved panic button. I've used him a couple times, but I feel even as an anti-cleaver, he's not the best because so many cleave units have a strip, and also because he never counters. Oh, he is pretty good for Automaton Tower, though. She's built for A13 one-shot. Normally she holds Midnight Bloom, but that's on my WSchuri for Cade's one-shot right now. Okay, I know I said I almost exclusively cleaved, but I went through an experimental phase like midway through the season, where I would first pick Violet, then pick 4 cleave units. The problem is, though, that they would let the Violet through, and I couldn't cleave the enemy down with the 3 cleave units that they did let through, and then my Violet would never dodge and I would lose. So frick Violet. I do have him on my Guild War defense team though, and I use him for Automaton Tower because he's kind of OP for that. Banshee one-shotter. So as I said, I have a 95% hero journal, so when I got ATywin he was meta, so I built him, and I tried to build him on the crit damage build, but my gear is not really suited for bruisers, so he kind of sucks. I don't think I used him like at all this season. I can't remember the last time I used him for any content. Similar situation to ATywin, however, I have used him a bit more than ATywin. Usually use him as a dark bait for Guild War, because mine's kind of tanky. Wyvern one-shotter. Very proud because she only needs defense break to one-shot. Golem one-shotter also helps to weaken the Azumanic for my A13 one-shot. Alright, all you bruiser players must be cringing so hard after seeing my bruisers, because I became really enamored with building a crit damage FCC, but I couldn't balance defense and health, so we ended up with this. And this is basically unusable, so I never use it, because when I do use it, I usually lose, or it didn't matter if I picked her. Oh, there actually have been a couple situations where I used her to screw over F10As and balls, since they only strip 1 buff, but only in Guild War because the majority of my units aren't built on immunity. Gear holder. I've never used her, which is unfortunate. Alright, you already get the gist of my bruisers, they suck. To be honest, I only have them built as bait units in Guild War and for World Boss. Tenebria is built for Grass Expedition, and I need to finish Mola-ing her, because she never lands defense break. Queen of PvE, I use her in Dark Expedition, Dark Fire and Ice Expedition, my Hell Raid and Normal Raid team, and a lot of Abyss floors. Another unit that got buffed at the end of the RTA season, she's a super secret project I intend on showcasing soon. I just need to promote her and Mola her, which Could be anywhere between 1 month and 6 months. Oh, so this is a unit I actually used a decent amount in RTA. Mine has 209.8 effect resistance, which is like 270 once you account for Strack. I used her to deal with mainly Cerises, and she's also really good into Bombseria, surprisingly, and I think that catches a lot of people off guard, because her S2 is an AoE strip, which means it strips off immunity of the enemy team, and then it triggers Bombseria's passive. So it's a little secret technique I use occasionally. Of course, picking Kitty is like admitting you can't outspeed the opponent, so I don't find myself using her too often. This unit is so overrated. Poltis deals with her fairly easily, and I only really pick mine for Guild War because I feel for a cleave team there's better options. Sometimes I use her if I can really punish the enemy for not pre-banning her. So I didn't get Tamarinne until floor 99 of Abyss, so for a while Kise was my go-to healer. I use her whenever I whip out the Dark Corvus for Guild War, but don't really use her in RTA. Also can't use her in any auto content because her AI is dumb, but on manual, Kise is one of the strongest Soul Weavers for sure. PvE, he gets used for Hell Raid. Also PvE, I use her in my Water Expedition and my normal raid team. Sometimes I use her in Guild War with my Dark Corvus. PvE unit, she tanks Water Expedition. Also, she has higher attack, so she makes sure my ram doesn't get stunned. Another PvE unit for Grass Expedition, but I'm too lazy to finish promoting and mullaying her. So this is my Grass and Light Expedition tank. She dies a lot in Light Expedition though, so I think I need to promote her at some point. Okay, my maid Chloe's gear is abysmal, so I don't use her. I only very situationally use her in Guild War and want to eventually farm better gear. I think I'd like to build her similar to my kitty Clarissa. And then I'll also give her that new Guild War artifact, so she has insane ER. I also built Rem because, she's mana, so it's good situationally, but I didn't mola her, so she literally never procs counter. I intend on stripping her though and giving her gear to someone else, so look forward to when I do a showcase of that unit. This is my PVE WSchuri. I haven't built to one-shot Asmanic and to finish off Cades in my Cades 1+2 shot. I have him on Midnight Bloom for Cades and Daydream Joker for Asmanic. I used to use Flan a lot in RTA, but nowadays I don't because she's just too slow. I'd like to build her as my next opener, but I don't really have the speed gear for that right now. I do use her a lot in Guild War though, because with Cursed Compass and 173 effectiveness, unless I get 15%, she's basically guaranteed to land defense break. PvE/occasional Guild War unit, she's really important for an auto Hell Raid team, and I sometimes use her with Dark Corvus when I'm feeling especially scared. Another knight that I left at 5-star, she's my tank for Fire Expedition. So WSchuri, I started building him as another speed imprint unit, but haven't had the motivation to finish awakening, promoting, reforging, or molaing him. Okay, Riolet's a work in progress, don't judge me. You don't need a reviver if your units don't die, so don't flame me too hard. I built Mascot Hazel for Grass Expedition to give my Kana greater attack buff. I don't think I need to promote her because she's able to survive the expedition until the Berserk phase. And then Singelica, Wyvern unit. And that's all the units I have built. As you can see, most of these units were actually PvE, and I only used a select few characters for RTA, with a couple other units built for rare circumstances when I wasn't fighting a meta picker. Anyways, thanks you all so much for watching. I hope this was useful/interesting, and if it was, make sure to subscribe. I do all kinds of Epic 7 content, such as unit showcases, hunt one-shots, Dire Scar missions, and lore videos. That's all for today. Good luck with your RTA push. See you next time.